UFC Vegas 108, Taira Taira taking on Hung Sung Park, the new main event. You know, originally Taira Taira was supposed to take on Amir Albazi. Albazi pulled out. We had a lot of fighters pull out on this card, but I'm going to be completely honest. I like this new main event a lot more than what was originally scheduled. We got a lot of good fights on this card. It is an Apex card. You know, a lot of people don't really like the Apex fights, but I'm pretty interested in it. I like, you know, a lot of fighters on this card. You know, we got REBECKI, we got Chris Duncan. I'm a solid Taira Taira fan. I like, you know, ESTEVAM RIBOVICS. It's a pretty decent card. But yeah, this is the full card predictions. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but I haven't, you know, missed a step giving you guys the locks of the week. You know, for the month of July, we ended up going 3-1. We only missed last week with Jose Ochoa. I mean, yeah, he lost the fight, but we definitely saw who was the aggressor the entire time. But let's not get carried away. This is the full card predictions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's get this video started. We're going to break down each fight one by one, giving you guys my picks. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got VIERA Rodriguez taking on SOUZA. I'm going to go with the underdog in this one. I'm going to go with SOUZA. When I look at SOUZA, you know, she is a bit of a brawler in the pocket. She's got pretty good power as well. She reminds me a little bit of Jessica Andrade. She does have, you know, some nasty finishes. If you look back to the Sphere card, she got the submission over Yasmin Yergi, put her to sleep. I believe that was in the first round, probably like the first 3 minutes after, you know, she got kicked in, you know, her no spot. But yeah, took care of her pretty easily. She is coming off a split decision loss against Angela Hill, but that's, you know, nothing to really, you know, throw a fit over. And, you know, a lot of people thought the decision was very questionable. Angela Hill has, you know, been slighted by a lot of split decisions. So I believe that was the first split decision that she won. But I do believe SOUZA did do enough to win the fight. But, you know, the judges saw it the other way. But I think SOUZA, you know, with her being robbed in her eyes, because she was pretty distraught from the decision in that fight as well. I think she's going to be hungry, looking for a finish. And I definitely think she is capable of finding one over VIERA Rodriguez, whether that's submission or maybe like a ground and pound TKO. VIERA, she's a good striker. She's got some solid 1-2s. She's got, you know, some decent takedown timing. I don't think she'll be able to get SOUZA down, because I do believe SOUZA may be the better grappler in this matchup, and I do favor SOUZA's power compared to VIERA Rodriguez as well. VIERA doesn't have any finishes in the UFC either. She doesn't have any finishes in the UFC, no subs in the UFC either, but she does have some solid ground and pound. So maybe if she does get her down, maybe, you know, we can see a situation where she ends up landing some solid, you know, some solid strikes from top. I do see it probably being a back and forth 29-28 decision, but I am going to lean SOUZA, the underdog, to get the fight, or to get the first, you know, fight of the night in the blue corner. But yeah, I'm going to go with SOUZA. Let's take a look at the odds. They did move from what I originally wrote down. So now we got VIERA Rodriguez as a -190, SOUZA +165. I do think SOUZA should get a little bit more respect. I mean, I get it, because, you know, she's not at a reach disadvantage or anything. So I think that brawling style is definitely going to be able to work in her favor in this matchup. VIERA, she doesn't really dictate range that well, so I can see you know, entering the pocket, stinging her up a little bit, and you know, taking it on the scorecards if she doesn't knock her out. So give me SOUZA, first fight of the night. Next up, we got Felipe Buenes taking on Rafael ESTEVAM. The line on this fight is pretty wide, but I am going to go with Rafael ESTEVAM. I do think he can sub Felipe Buenes out. Looking at Felipe, you know, he does have a little bit of a gas issue. If you look at the Joshua Van fight, he came out super fast, you know, had a lot of adrenaline, did get finished in the second round, I believe. He was absolutely gassed. Well, I will credit that to Joshua Van also ripping the body, which is something that I haven't really seen much of Rafael Estevam, but Rafael Estevam is a much better grappler in this matchup. I do think he can zap Felipe Buenes' energy in that way, taking him down, getting the body triangle, that sucks a lot of wind out of people as well. And I do think, he could probably find a submission. But yeah, looking back at Buenes, he does have some fast, active hands too. The two down the middle is pretty solid as well. Good low kicks. He trains with the Pitbull brothers, down in Brazil. Coming off the upset submission win over Jose Johnson, which I picked him after Jose missed weight in that fight. Jose was like I think he's like a 6'1" flyweight too, or what is this flyweight? Yeah, I think he's like 6'1" or something like that. It's freakishly tall flyweight. But yeah, Felipe Buenes took care of him. I think he subbed him in the first round, I believe. But yeah, Felipe does have good takedown entries and transitions. But looking at Rafael, I just think he's the much sharper blade when it comes to the grappling. Smothering wrestling power. He will sell out on the shots, but a lot of the times he does get them. He was able, to control Charles Johnson in his fight almost 2 years ago. And Charles Johnson, I rate pretty highly. He's got the knockout over Joshua Van. I don't want to just, put that out there as the one accomplishment that he had. But Charles Johnson is a pretty solid fighter. But Rafael was able to, control him for 2 rounds. Did get, a little testy in the 3rd round, but ultimately won the decision. Also coming off this win over Jesus Aguilar. Estevam's transitions are pretty seamless. He could go from full mount to body triangle to the back take, threatening with the rear naked choke. He's, his jiu-jitsu is pretty high level. He's got pretty good trips and tosses as well. Definitely see him, taking the gas tank from Felipe Buenes, like I mentioned earlier. And I think sub or decision with like control time is what's coming for Rafael Estevam. Let's look at the odds. They moved everything around. Yeah, so Estevam minus 460, Felipe plus 360. I do believe there's going to be a lot of people on Felipe Buenes because the line is so wide, and I do think he is the better striker. But I think Estevam will be able to, take him down, smother him with that pressure, and possibly find a submission. But, as we've seen the past 2-3 weeks, these underdogs are, they don't really care about the odds. Muslim Salikov with the knockout over Carlos Leal last week was insane. So, yeah, just a little food for thought. Moving on, we got Rodolfo Vieira taking on Tresean Gore. Now, originally, I was like, man, this is a little too soon for Tresean Gore to come back, but he's not fighting, a super scary striker like a Marco Tulio who knocked him out, 3 months ago. With that being said, I'm going to sell out. I'm going to go with Tresean Gore to get a knockout in this one, actually. I don't believe Rodolfo has been finished by a knockout. Yeah, no, he's only been finished by a submission one time. And that was Anthony Hernandez, I believe, right? A couple years ago. Right? Yep, Anthony Hernandez. But I think Tresean Gore is going to be he's the better striker. He's got pretty good power, the nasty hooks. He was clipping Marco Tulio in that fight. If you go back and look at it, he did get stopped, but he was also having some success trading in the pocket with Marco Tulio. Marco Tulio is a way better striker than Rodolfo Vieira. But Rodolfo Vieira, look at his name, the Black Belt Hunter. So you already know what that comes with. He's nasty on the ground. The thing is, will he be able to get it there? Probably. But Tresean Gore is pretty good at getting back up. He fights, to get back to his feet. I think the pressure is probably going to work in his favor. I could see him, backing Rodolfo up, stuffing a good amount of takedowns because he does have, some pretty good takedown defense. It's not the best, but the jab is pretty powerful. He's got, he's a pretty good athlete in my opinion. I think if he loses here, he's definitely going to get cut. He's not going to be in the UFC with a 5-4 record. I think he took this fight. It is a bit of a stylistic, it's a stylistic matchup that kind of works in his favor. But if he does get taken down, then I think he will be, in a different world. But I can definitely see him landing something nasty on Rodolfo Vieira, clipping him, probably finish him with like a ground and pound. I definitely think this fight won't go the distance. It's either going to be a Tresean Gore knockout, maybe submits Rodolfo Vieira. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a knockout, or Rodolfo ends up tapping him. So probably looking at something like fight doesn't go the distance in this one. Wonder what the the numbers are on that. But Rodolfo Vieira, excellent jiu-jitsu. The black belt hunter speaks for itself. Nasty arm triangles, transitions are pretty slick. He's coming off this loss to Andre Petroski. He's okay. He's got pretty decent wrestling and grappling for himself. But before that, he's got the submission over Arman Petrosian, and then Cody Brundage arm triangle. Finished them both, the same way. I believe they both came in the first round as well. But yeah, Rodolfo, he's definitely not going to try and stay on the feet for long against Tresean Gore, because he's very aware of the power that Tresean has. I think he's going to force the takedowns, but I don't know how he will be able to handle the power coming back. Is he going to be able to shoot takedowns when he's backed up the entire fight? I don't think so. So give me Mr. Vicious to find a nasty knockout this Saturday. Tresean Gore by knockout. Let's look at the line. -225 for Rodolfo, +190 for Tresean. Do like that number. I believe, what did it open up at? Yeah, he was +220. So there's a little bit of love coming on Tresean Gore. I think everyone has, the same ideology that I'm seeing. It's either going to be a Rodolfo Vieira sub or Tresean Gore by knockout. So that's what I'm going with. Next up, we got Rinya Nakamura taking on Nathan Fletcher. Now, Nathan Fletcher did get robbed, in his, it wasn't his UFC debut. Well, yeah, it was, because this was the Ultimate Fighter win. His UFC debut against Colin Lawford. I believe he won that fight. Did he do enough in the judges' eyes? Clearly not. Did he do enough to, convince the public? Maybe not, but in my eyes, he definitely won that fight. It was a rematch. If you go back, I think it was 4 years ago now, he beat Colin Lawford by submission, I believe. I think he armbarred him. Oh no, decision. Yeah, 2018. So yeah, a bit of a grudge match, but he definitely won. Nathan Fletcher is not going to win this fight, though. I think Rinya Nakamura, I will throw a caution out there. He is a road to UFC winner. Did get a bit exposed by Muin Gafarov last time out. Gafarov was able to stop a lot of the takedowns. I don't think Nathan Fletcher will be able to, though. He's got pretty good, Olympic wrestling credentials. Doesn't have an established striking style, which is what, lost him this fight against Gafarov. If you look at the fight, Gafarov is just walking him down. Rinya was unable to put, any strikes together. He was just shooting or throwing, singular shots. Did have like a couple of spinning wheel kicks, but other than that, he didn't really have much to, give in the striking department. But he is, going along with the striking, he is a bit more reactive in the stand-up when he can't employ his wrestling. But with Nathan Fletcher, yes, he's a decent striker, but he primarily wants to get to gets the fight. He wants to get the fight to the mat as well. He does have a couple submission wins on his record as well. What does he have? Yeah, 7 wins by submission. 9 victories total. So I definitely, Nathan Fletcher definitely wants to get the fight to the mat. I don't think he will be able to against Rinya. Rinya is definitely a lot stronger. I definitely see Rinya taking Nathan down, probably, doing some damage from top. I don't know if he finishes him. I think it'll be a decision. Fletcher, ultimate fighter winner, which I do rate higher than, road to UFC. Like I said, he's coming off the robbery loss. He's got pretty good jiu-jitsu, better striker out of the two. His takedown defense is decent, but I have seen him, getting reversed and overpowered in a lot of grappling sequences. If you go back to the Ultimate Fighter finale against Zigomatis Ramasca, he was, getting flipped over, selling out for, I believe it was a arm bar, got flipped over, got put on his back. So I definitely see Rinya being able to overpower him in the grappling department. So I'm going to go with Rinya to win by decision. And here are the odds. Geez, -400 +300 for Nathan Fletcher. I do I understand it, but like I said, Nathan Fletcher is the better striker. So what happens when, Renya gets touched up on the feet like he did against me and Gafarov and unable to, get any takedowns going um, when he's backed up all night? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But I think Renya will be able to, smother him, get him down, pressure him up against the cage, maybe do some dirty work in the clinch, and ultimately win it on scorecards. So give me Renya Nakamura. Next up, we got Nick Klein taking on Andre Pulyaev. I'm going with Andre Pulyaev. I think this is pretty much a layup for Andre Pulyaev. I think he should tune Nick Klein up. Klein, he's coming off the loss against Mansour Abdul, where he did hurt him early on, with this spinning elbow, clipped Mansour, but ultimately got, finished in the second round. I think Nick Klein is just still, a little wet behind the ears. If you go back to his Contender Series finish, if you look at his finish was impressive, right? But if you look at what he's doing, he finished with a rear naked choke, but he didn't have any hooks in. He was just on the guy's back, just choking him out. I don't think that he'll be able to pull something off against Andre Pulyaev with that lack of technique. He's all pressure, no real strategy. His setups, his striking is still a little green, in my opinion. If you look at the stand up with Mansour, he was just throwing a lot of reckless things. Honestly, the spinning elbow, it was perfectly timed, but I think he just threw that just to throw something out there. I don't think it was a technique like, oh, when Mansour shoots, because I believe that's what he's doing. He was either shooting or entering the pocket. Let me time the spinning elbow. I think he just threw it. You know what I'm saying? Andre Pulyaev, he is a long, nasty kickboxer. He lost to Christian Leroy Duncan, but that was too high of a debut in my opinion. But that his fight on Contender Series against Liam Anderson, he was tuning him up, and I definitely see him doing the same thing to Nick Klein. Long wire reframe kickboxer, dude, 6'4", 78.5-inch reach. It's gonna look a lot longer in the octagon. I'm telling you. I don't think Nick Klein has fought in the he did fight in the Apex, but Pulyaev will be able to. I think he's gonna be able to walk him down the entire, however long the fight lasts. He's facing a raw pressure fighter who's just going to be there to be hit, walking forward the entire fight. I think Andre Pulyaev is probably going to find a knockout within the first 7 minutes of the fight. He's got a nasty body kick to follow with the two to follow. And I definitely see Nick Klein probably, getting starched in this matchup. Pulyaev, don't look at his debut and think that's who he is. Go back and I will admit, when I did the breakdown for the COD fight, I did shit on him a little bit because he looked tired and was getting reversed in positions and some of his his previous matchups. But I don't think Nick Klein is going to be the one to give him another loss in the UFC. I think Andre Pulyaev is going to find a knockout. I don't see him gassing. I think Pulyaev is going to be able to, strike for however long with probably 2 or 3, takedown attempts from Nick Klein. But I think he's going to sting him up, find a knockout, and finish this fight before we get halfway into the second round. Look at the odds. Did swell a little bit. Nick Klein plus 130, Pulyaev minus 150. Yeah. I anticipate that probably closing around like minus 180, minus 200, if I'm going to be honest. Believe it opened up as he opened plus 140. He was sitting, it was damn near even money the past few days, but everybody's pretty much on it now. So yeah, give me Andre Pulyaev to find a finish in this one. Next up on the main card opener, if you guys haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We got Danny Silva taking on Kevin Vallejos. If you guys aren't aware who Kevin Vallejos is, you should. I predicted one of his fights against Sang-Won Chu with the KO. He fought Gene Silva a couple years ago, lost by decision, but it was a very good fight. With that being said, I'm not just picking him because he lost to Gene Silva. I'm picking him because I do think he can overwhelm Danny Silva. Danny Silva is no slouch, though. I will say that. This matchup, it's a pretty good booking. Both of these guys still pretty, early in their careers, 10-1, 15-1. Danny Silva, he's a solid pressure boxer. He's got some decent wrestling behind him too. Quick hands. He doesn't have a lot of, pop on him, but he does have some pretty good combinations in the pocket. His gassing is a little bit of an issue though. If you look at the Lucas Almeida fight, Lucas Almeida is a slow one punch, heavy handed striker, but he was able to, he was obviously he took, one judge saw the fight in his way, and that was because Danny Silva was getting tired, wasn't pressing the gas, doing what he needed to do to win that fight. I definitely think if Lucas Almeida was a fight Kevin Vallejos, Vallejos would knock him out inside 2 rounds. I believe Danny Silva did hurt him in that matchup. I gotta go back and watch it again, but ultimately he didn't do what he needed to do. Kulabau decision. Kulabau is a split decision, I should say. Kulabau isn't really that good. And then, his decision on Contender Series. I mean, he's willing to walk forward, but like I said, I was unimpressed with that win against Lucas Almeida. And then, on the other side, we got Kevin Vallejos. Nasty boxing. They call him Baby Maidana. His only loss is to Gene Silva, who is pretty much damn near a title challenger at this point. KO power in both hands. Rips the combinations pretty well. Counter punching is pretty elite. I do think he can find a late finish in this matchup. If not, it'll be a decision for Kevin Vallejos. So give me Kevin Vallejos late round 2, round 3 knockout, or by decision. Look at the odds. Pretty heavy favorite, minus 400, plus 300 for Danny Silva. Everybody's on Kevin Vallejos. I believe Topology had, Vallejos by KO. If he does get a knockout, I think it'll be like round 3, late round 2, something of that order. Danny Silva will make it a fight pretty early. He will be. I think he'll probably still the first round be more active, put a lot more out there than Kevin Vallejos. So yeah, won't be surprised to see a decent scrap for about 10 and a half minutes, something like that. Next up, we got Neil Magny versus Elizeo Zeleski dos Santos. The unction to the fullest. I am going with Zeleski. I know he's coming off the knockout by Chidi Njokuani, but I still think he's less washed than Neil Magny. Neil Magny coming off 2 knockouts. Carlos Prates finished him, and then Michael Morales finished him as well, both in the first round. Yes, Zeleski got finished, but he's definitely a nastier striker than Neil Magny. This dude's nickname is Capoeira. You know what I'm saying? Dos Santos, both of these guys, staples of the welterweight decision. Striking is much better. Also has more power. He's got the the ability to employ his grappling as well. I definitely think he could take Neil Magny down with ease. Neil Magny is a tall dude, so he does have some decent takedown defense, but not at this point in his career. I don't think he'll be able to overcome the pressure. If you look at the Mike Malott fight, he was getting, controlled for a majority of the fight and then got a crazy comeback, which set him up for these fights with Morales and Prates. But I think Zeleski could find a knockout in this matchup too, probably retiring Neil Magny, if I'm going to be honest. Neil Magny, like I said, he's also a staple of the welterweight division, coming off 2 nasty knockouts to some nasty strikers, which Zeleski is, yes, he's not a top 10, welterweight in the division, but dude's still pretty nasty on the feet. He hurt Chidi Njokuani in that matchup too, so I do rate his striking pretty high. Neil, he normally starts his fights well either way. Some good pressure, and he does like to take the fight to the mat. I don't think he'll be able to take Zeleski down. No, I think Zaleski's going to be the one to take him down. I don't really see an advantage for Neil Magny in this fight other than his reach, but he doesn't really, strike from long range the best. If I'm being honest, his striking is okay, but it's not anything that Zeleski hasn't seen. You know what I'm saying? I can see him getting stung up on the feet and honestly knocked out within probably the second round. That's what I'm going to go. Zeleski, second round finish. You see the odds, minus 200, plus 170 for Neil Magny. I agree with it. What did it open up at? Yeah, minus 175. Yeah. So yeah, give me Zaleski dos Santos to find a second round knockout. Next up, we got the ladies. Carol Rosa taking on Nora CORNOLLE. I'm going with Carol Rosa. I like her striking, bro. The leg kicks, the boxing, much better striker than Nora CORNOLLE. Should be able to chop that leg, negate the base for Nora to, shoot any takedowns. I think she's going to pick away from distance, maintain her composure the entire fight, and I can see a 30-27 unanimous decision. I know she's trading wins and losses, but Eileen Perez is definitely better than Nora CORNOLLE. Her wrestling is more relentless, and she's able to control fighters a lot better. Win against Pani Kianzad, she tuned her up for 3 rounds, bro. Chopped that leg apart. Lost to Irene Aldana, but she was giving Aldana a lot of trouble with that lead leg, chopped it apart. If you don't know, Carol Rosa, she's probably one of the best. I would probably rate her as one of the best leg kickers in the UFC, and she does not stop. If you look at the Kianzad fight, she threw like 30 leg kicks in the first round. Kianzad was unable to really, stand on that leg after the first like 3 minutes of the fight. CORNOLLE, she is a brawler, wrestler base. She's going to need to, make this fight really dirty, put Carol up against the cage and, swing and bang, but I don't think she's going to have a lot of success doing that. Carol can, make the fight dirty too. She has a lot of nasty, sneaky, tight elbows in the clinch. Even, when Nora closes distance, I could definitely see Carol, timing an inside low kick, stinging her with a 2. Carol Rose is the better striker, and I think she's going to be able to manage the distance a lot better. Nora definitely struggled against, a precision striker when you look at the fight with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Yes, it was a split decision. Made a good account for herself, but I think Carol probably has better power than Cavalcanti. Not saying that she's gonna, knock Nora out or anything like that, but I definitely think she'll be able to sting her up and keep her at bay for a majority of the fight. But yeah, Nora's gonna have to make this fight super dirty, take her down 3, 4, 5 times in this fight, and control, get some ground and pound going. But I don't think she'll be able to do it. So I'm going with Carol Rosa to sting her up for 3 rounds and get a unanimous decision. Look at the odds. Here we go, minus 171, plus 146. I agree 100%. I think this should probably, damn, she opened at minus 400. Oh, there's a lot of love on the Nora side. Interesting. Yeah, nah, I'm going with Carol, the younger. I'm not saying she's fresher. Definitely has more experience, as you could clearly see, but she's definitely nastier in the striking department, and I'm gonna go with her to win this fight. To the featured fight of the night, we got Esteban RIBOVICS versus Elvis BRENER. I'm going with Esteban RIBOVICS to win this fight by finish. This is a really good bounce back for him, coming off the Nasrat Hakparas fight. BRENER, he's a shoot the box Muay Thai fighter. Solid jiu-jitsu. His chin is a little on the thinner side, I would say. Very chaotic striking, sells out on his hooks and low kicks. He will throw, everything into them and leave his guard down, which I can see Esteban countering and putting him down. BRENER does have some, pretty good power. You go back damn near 2 years ago, this knockout over Krzyzewski was nasty. Left him flat on his face with a overhand left. But he lost to Mitsubek Orlabai, who's pretty high in the rankings, and then Yoel Alvarez also knocked him out about a year ago. So it's been a little bit of a time for Elvis BRENER since he's been back in the octagon. Yoel Alvarez is a nasty striker, as well as Esteban RIBOVICS. Esteban, his pressure is definitely going to win him this fight. I think this is a train crash matchup, but I definitely favor Esteban to win, all of the exchanges, majority of the exchanges, if I'm being fair. RIBOVICS lands with a little bit more thud, more output. Like I said, it's a good bounce back matchup for him. More versatile skill set, and the striking in the pocket is what's going to find him to finish. He's definitely tighter in the pocket. I can see him ripping, a 4-punch combination, seeing Elvis Brenner going flat on his back and looking up at the light. So give me Esteban RIBOVICS to find a finish. What round? Does it go past the first? I don't know. End of the first round. I'll go into the first round. Esteban RIBOVICS to find a knockout. Minus 260 for RIBOVICS, plus 220 for Elvis Brenner. Yeah. What did it open up at? Minus 450. Yeah, just a little bit of love on Elvis Brenner, man. Like I said, the underdogs have been, doing what it do recently. I think there's been like 10 underdogs in the past 2 fight cards that won. So, hey, you want to put some money on Elvis Brenner? I don't blame you. Like I said, it is a bit of the styles clash. So somebody's gonna get finished, but I think it's gonna be Elvis Brenner. So let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. I really like this fight. Chris the Problem Duncan versus Mateusz REBECKI. Jeez. I'm going with Mateusz to win by decision. I do think Chris Duncan is pretty good, but I don't think he'll be able to handle the pressure from REBECKI. If you go back to this win over Mitabek Orlabai, it was a split decision. He did, crush Mitabek Orlabai's face. His eye was damn near, the size of Muhammad Yaya's. I'm trying to remember who's his worst. Probably Yaya's, but yeah, their eye looked very similar. But you got to also remember that fight, REBECKI versus Orlabai, they fought at a catchweight 165. So I definitely think REBECKI probably would have finished Orlabai had they cut the rest of that weight. With that being said, REBECKI, he's got crazy cardio. He's a workhorse. He could grapple or strike for 15 minutes straight. Power in the left hook. Times his takedowns precisely. Damage from the top. I think it's going to be a hard 29-28 decision for REBECKI. Chris Duncan, like I said, he is pretty good. He's solid all around. I think he's going to be at a speed disadvantage. I think he's also going to be at an output disadvantage. He doesn't really mix his combinations well. He throws a lot of singular shots, finding his range. The jab, he'll throw a low kick, a body kick, something of that order, and pick and pry at his opponent, but I don't think he'll be able to do that. And this is also his first time back in the Apex in about 2-3 years, I believe. So REBECKI, his style is made for an Apex fighter or an Apex fight. You know what I'm saying? So Chris Duncan, I think he's going to get pressured, put against the cage, and put in some compromises situations. I don't know if he gets finished, but I do think REBECKI wins this fight. I'll give him a decision win, probably a 29-28. I can see Chris Duncan probably getting a takedown early in the fight after, REBECKI closes distance or something like that, get a little bit of control time and win, secure him the round, probably late in the first round, something of that order. But I think REBECKI is going to, not blow through him, but put a pace on him, put the striking on him, and win the remainder of the fight. So give me REBECKI to win by decision. Minus 200 for REBECKI, plus 170 for Chris Duncan. I get it. I definitely get it. Also open up at minus 400. There's a lot of, hey, bet responsibly. I am not, a, whatever you call it. I'm not here to, I'm not a financial advisor. So do with your money, do what you want with your money. I'm just giving you, my suggestions. That's it. Main event of the evening, new main event of the evening. And I gotta admit, this fight is definitely better than what was originally booked. Obviously, this, our prediction card was a little bit held up because the fight was canceled, Sunday night, I believe? Sunday or Monday early in the day. This fight was canceled, Sunday, so that's what held up the prediction video. But I like this fight 10 times better than Amir Abazi. I'm not really a Abazi fan, to be honest. I never really liked him. Maybe it was because of the Kai Kara France robbery win, but whatever. I'm not, a Kai Kara France fan like that either. But get into this fight. This is definitely a much better stylistic matchup. And it's not an easy fight for either one of these guys. I do think Taira wins, but I think it'll be by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Hong Sung Park, even though Hong Sung Park hasn't fought a high level fighter like a Taira. Taira's been in there with, some pretty high level guys. He went 5 rounds with BRENER 9 months ago. Fought Alex Perez. Yes, Alex Perez blew his knee out, but his experience is definitely going to favor him in this matchup. I also think that his preparation for Amir Abazi is going to work better for him than Hong Sung Park's preparation for Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg is a kickboxer, and I believe Hong Sung was looking to grapple pretty hard in that matchup. But I don't think he'll be able to, out grapple Taira. I do think Hong Sung, he's a pretty good boxer. He does rip the body well. But one thing that I've noticed is he is pretty susceptible to straight shots. And that's what Taira is pretty good at doing as well. This is a really interesting, really tough fight. I think, Taira is the better grappler. Hong Sung Park is also a solid grappler, but I definitely see Taira being able to, if he is taken down, probably reverse, positions or get into his transitions a lot better than Hong Sung Park. I don't see. It's hard for me to see Taira getting a submission in this one. I feel like a lot of people are going to be on it because of the short notice replacement, but they're just not aware of how good Hong Sung Park actually is. I picked him in his last fight against Carlos Hernandez. If you guys, watch that prediction video, and I believe he finished him by submission. Yeah, rear naked choke, but. Yeah, Taira, man, his jiu-jitsu is pretty legit. His wrestling is pretty legit, but I don't think he'll be able to, finish Hong Sung Park. Not saying that he's not capable, but Hong Sung Park is a tough dude, man. I mean, what could I say? Taira's got 12 wins by finish. Hong Sung Park, I don't know, man. This is a hard fight to really break down. They're very even in the skill set. But I just think Taira is going to be able to outwork him. And we haven't seen Hong Sung Park in a 5-round fight either. So that's another thing, that goes into me picking Taira. I believe, Hong Sung was only training for a 3-round fight against Steve Erceg, which was going to be not this weekend, but next weekend. So it's not like he's out of shape or anything. He's definitely been preparing, but he was preparing for a 3-rounder, not a 5-rounder. Is he capable of going 5 rounds? Yes, but we haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to go with the more proven, more experienced guy to get it done by decision. I believe everyone's going to be on submission, but I don't think he's going to submit him. I think it's going to be a hard 49-46 decision. So yeah, I think I could see Taira winning probably rounds, 3 through 5, if I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I can see him stealing not stealing, but winning a decision. I don't think he's gonna submit him. Let's get to the odds. I believe he opened at he opened at -300, -330 now, plus 280 for Hong Sung Park. I'm telling you, everyone's gonna be on submission, man. But I think he's gonna get it done by decision. So give me Hong Sung Park. Hey man, I'm getting back in the groove. Cut me a little bit of slack. Give me Taira to win by decision, and that is your UFC Vegas 108 full card predictions. Let me know what you guys thought of the picks. Let me know if you guys believe this main event is better than, Taira versus Amir Abazi. I definitely think it is. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thanks for tuning in. We're getting back in the flow of the things. If you guys, clearly see, we got a new intro, new outro coming for you all. I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm definitely back in the fold, and let's get this ball back rolling. same thing as usual. You know, we got the money making plays coming later this week, the reaction video, the weigh-in videos. So stay tuned. I got content coming, and thanks for tuning in.